we think we have all the answers and we're ready to go. We load up on all these answers, and then we miss the other steps before that. This idea of belonging, the achings of their heart. Instead, we want to just give an answer to the question before we even hear the question. Yeah. So where does apologetics play, and where are there other things before apologetics?
Yeah. So I mean, look, I take a boring answer to the whole thing on apologetics. You know, the 1 Peter 3 stuff is we're giving a reason for the hope that we have. But giving a reason for hope is not exclusively or only a cognitive, intellectual kind of belief. It does involve beliefs, but it's also about predispositions. It's about predilections. Hope is a very holistic term. And maybe a criticism I have of maybe evangelical apologetics over the years is that it has tried to kind of, this idea of brains on sticks. It's been quite a rationalistic way of understanding apologetics. Now, what we need to do is engage people at all levels, the whole person, which includes not just what we think, but what we feel, what we imagine, that story side that you've been talking about, that we're creatures who tell stories to each other. Again, that's not less than intellectual. Please don't get me wrong, but it's certainly a holistic point. And I wonder whether, and again, in our culture, increasingly where the leading faculty is not reason, it's other things. How do we do that? I mean, there's a really interesting article a few weeks ago. I've forgotten the guy's name, the Southern Baptist writer, but it's talking about how actually he wonders whether people's feelings are actually leading them back to what might be called Orthodox Christianity, because there's stability, there's an understanding of what our identity is. And that's going to be that's a great apologetic for us. This is the time where it's Orthodox Christianity that can really deal with people who feel completely rootless and lost, and this identity crisis that we're going through. So for me, apologetics, and again, it's not just stock answers, although of course we know we need to answer people's questions, and some of those questions remain perennial. The problem of evil, in some ways, the magnetic points are kind of apologetic perennial questions, but it's the flexibility. Often people aren't asking that. They're not, well, maybe it's me. They're not asking those questions. People are just living their lives. And that one of the really formative passages for me, Travis, has been Isaiah 44, where Isaiah's kind of took, the satire of the idolater who worships a god, makes their supper or dinner, and then uses the fuel to make a god. And Isaiah's saying this is ridiculous. But the key verse for me is in Isaiah 44, it says, no one stops to think. And people, we know that normal Americans, your average, they're just living their lives. They're not having conversations about worldview. They're living through their worldview. So the job of apologetics, in my mind, in a loving, intentional, non-manipulative way, but intentionally, is to get people to stop and think. Do you know what you're doing? If you're you as a non-Christian say to me, I couldn't be under the authority of the God that you talk about, or Jesus, but we need to show them that they're under authority. The way that they do things is because they have a norm. They have they belong to something else. They're living out a script that's been given to them. And that's crucial that we understand that.